Time now for Night Court. Marjorie and Russell Newman spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on their daughter Jessica's dream wedding, including, wait for it, $150,000 for flowers. But the two say the event was actually ruined when the Brooklyn Pier 1 Hotel waited until after the reception began to tell them about a recently passed noise restriction in the area. Well, tonight, as you can well imagine, they are suing the hotel and a rather famous wedding planner for breach of contract and fraud. But here's a question that we have tonight as we look at Night Court. Could some of the contractual fine print get those defendants off the hook? We want to ask our legal eagles, class action attorney Kelly Hyman, and the founder and managing partner of Genco Legal, attorney Bryan Rotella. So, Kelly, let me begin with you. What's your sense, especially if you spend all that money, you expect to have a great time, and they tell you after the fact, oh, I know you guys are dancing, I know you're having a great time, but could you keep it down? That would seem to me to be a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Kevin, you bring up a very good point. A wedding is a time for a family come together, a celebration of joy, and a wonderful event, a memorable event in a woman's life. And here they are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars having this beautiful wedding, and then all of a sudden they tell them, oh no, you can't do this, you have to move, you have to go, take your 200 people and go to a room with 60 people that's like dirty and dungy and listen to your music. They're going to come up and say that it was a breach of contract because they had a contract, the plaintiffs, the parents, had a contract with the hotel saying that they could have the wedding there, have the music and stuff like that. So ultimately, the court will make a determination whether the hotel breached its duty by changing the venue. But the plaintiffs have a very strong case, Kevin.
Come on, Brian. You can't mess with the electric slide. Brothers want to get loose. It's a wedding. You got to do better than this. You got to feel for the family in this case. I guess conversely, if you're the hotel, you might be saying, look, the rules are the rules. What's your take?
Well, first, Kevin, I think that you, Kelly, and I have to answer one big question. How loud does the chicken dance really need to be at the wedding? That's first. But aside from that, and I'm not here to upset bride-to-bes on Friday before Valentine's Day, if you're spending $150,000 on flowers for a wedding, you might want to put a little of that money towards an attorney to read the wedding contract. Why, Kevin? Well, these types of events that are that big, they usually have a noise and music provision in the contract. What is that? Well, it says that if there's other guests and other residents, that the venue, here the hotel, has the right, if the noise is too loud, in its discretion, to say turn it down. If they don't turn it down, it's creating more of a disturbance. They're worried the authorities are going to come in. They can actually evict folks. So I hate to say it for this bride, but I think that if this thing ultimately ends up further in court, she's going to end up with a broken heart.
Let me ask you this, Kelly. If you were the family or advising the family, and I recognize you're not, and legally you can't do that, but if you were advising them, what strategy would you try to give them as they try to get relief? Because this is a circumstance, this is supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime situation. You cannot go back and get those memories. They're obviously upset. And as you pointed out, they've invested not just their time, their heart, but a lot of money. What would you tell them to do?
The contract is key. So when you have a contract, it's a binding agreement between two parties. And in this case, the plaintiffs represent the family and then also the defendants, which are the hotel. So the language in the contract is going to be key. But I disagree with our party pooper. I do believe that the parties have a really strong case and that ultimately the court will make a determination that no, they signed the contract, was supposed to be in this one venue, and they changed the venue, and the plaintiffs will prevail.
Let me ask you about that, Brian, because if you don't notify them, like you said, yes, perhaps it was in the contract, and if it's in the contract and you signed the contract, you're responsible for what the fine print has to say. However, I think it's also in good faith as a business to maybe try to make them, maybe not whole, but maybe to push this to a side, give them some money, and have them go away slightly unhappy, rather than have this play out, because anytime you have to go to court, there are risks involved for the company as well, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Kevin, but I'll tell you, I actually have the complaint here. There's a footnote, I can't believe they put it in here, that the mother of the bride got an email a few days before from the hotel saying there may be a problem with the music. So I'm going to go back to it. For $150,000 for flowers, and I know the flowers are important, a little bit of money to a lawyer right then when they got that email, I think this bride may have had a better wedding day.
Well, I cannot wait to see how this one plays out, because as you can imagine, if you drop that kind of coin, you're going to take them to court. And if you can spend that on a wedding, I imagine you can spend it on a very, very good legal team as well. Kelly and Bryan, thank you guys for spending Friday night with us. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend.